was a movie and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now?
Hello and welcome to Dad's Dating After Divorce, the only podcast helping us dads dating after divorce and traversing the wild and interesting world of dating after divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval. I am the founder of The Divorced Advocate and your co-host. My co-host is Dallas Bluth, founder of Black Box Dating. And Dallas, good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Jude. Wonderful to be back for another session together.
Absolutely. And I just got to preface this. We were mentioning we actually haven't talked in a couple of weeks, so you kind of had some stuff going on. We pre-recorded some of these episodes and launched those, and then I was gone. I was hunting, and then I've been back, and as soon as I got back, I got sick. So I just want to let everybody know I sound like I don't know what I sound like. I just don't sound great. So bear with us. Hopefully Dallas will do most of the talking today, and I'll limit it. I've got my throat spray, my lozenges, my tea, my everything lined up. I might be muting myself on and off, which y'all won't be able to see, but hopefully it won't throw Dallas off too much. I'm sure he'll still, as always, be on his game. But we're gonna fight through it today, and we're gonna talk about something that I think is kind of exciting, kind of interesting, and that's cold approaches, right? So, man, I think a lot of people get worked up and excited and kind of. And you would have more insight into this, but get kind of concerned about doing cold approaches. And the reason, and I don't know exactly why, and maybe that doesn't resonate with guys our age quite as much, because once upon a time, there wasn't like, we didn't even know it was called cold approach. This was just how you met women.
Yep.
Is you went and talked to them in person, face to face. There wasn't texting. There wasn't Instagram, there wasn't online, there wasn't any of this. It wasn't even called cold approach. It's like, you want to date, you go talk to a woman. That's it. And I'll give you the background, Dallas, and of why this came up and why I thought it was interesting. Do you know who Bill Ackman is? The billionaire founder of Pershing Square Capital Management. He's a hedge fund guy. Okay, so he's an amicable, seemingly nice guy, and I've heard him talk, and I think he's always got pretty good heart about things. And he posted something this week on X, and I'll read it to you. And he says, "I hear from many young men that they find it difficult to meet young women in a public setting. In other words, the online culture has destroyed the ability to spontaneously meet strangers. As such, I thought I would share a few words that I used in my youth to meet someone that I found compelling. I would ask, quote, 'May I meet you?' end quote, before engaging further in a conversation. I almost never got a no. It inevitably enabled the opportunity for a further conversation. I met a lot of really interesting people this way. I think the combination of proper grammar and politeness was the key to its effectiveness. You might give it a try, and yes, I think it should also work for women seeking men as well as same-sex interactions. Just 2 cents from an older, happily married guy concerned about our next generation's happiness and population replacement rates." So, it's good-natured, right? May I meet you? We could talk about the effectiveness of that. He's kind of gotten roasted and it's become a meme now around all this stuff.
Really?
Because it's such may I meet you? He talks about being proper grammar, being respectful. And so, people have kind of made fun of him about that. I feel like this is very well-intentioned and good advice. And so give me your take on that. And then maybe let's dive more into, we'll start with, may I meet you? Is that a good idea? And then let's get into maybe some technique for the dads listening on how we do that. As usual, I've got my notes and kind of like how we start down this, but give me your first impression of Bill's advice.
So my first impression of it is, yes, it does sound formal and it sounds a little dated. It totally does. Sometimes when I'm talking with guys in their 20s, I am literally taking notes on words I have to look up. It's almost like a different language sometimes. It really is. And it's not just like short abbreviations. It really is almost a completely different language. So I can see how somebody saying, "May I meet you?" can sound incredibly foreign, dated, almost from the 1800s. I get where that's coming from. But let me just point out, I love the way that he wrote this message that he posted online. It was incredibly supportive. It was incredibly loving. He called out that, like, I'm an older guy, I'm married, been there, but I just want the younger generation to feel good about this thing that I felt good about and that my generation felt more comfortable with. He was offering it in a sharing place. The fact that everybody has to turn around and turn into a meme and roast him is just, it's petty. The guy's coming from a good place and we get so little of that. I think it's horrible that we tear it down when it happens. Anyways, tiny little soapbox moment right there.
Yeah. And I don't think, Bill's a big guy, right? He's a billionaire. He's been happily married, raised a family. He's been remarried also. So I'm sure that he's not so concerned about getting roasted.
Yeah.
He's in boardrooms and doing activist investing and stuff. So he's a big boy. But I agree with you. I really appreciate the context and way that in the way that he came across in doing this. Wasn't condescending, wasn't talking down to the other generations, et cetera. Just providing some feedback of what was successful from him. And I think that's a good point too, is we get into our conversations here all the time, right? About how to do this and that. And really it's going to come down to what you're comfortable with yourself. It might be, "May I meet you?" And that might fit your personality perfectly too, and probably fits his personality, and that's what you want to come across. So just know that even though we're going to talk about stuff coming up here and kind of skills and stuff like that, find your own rhythm and figure out your own way to do this and make this feel comfortable. But the key thing, and I think what we're going to get into here, is that what he's talking about in talking about and approaching people is being relational, right? We're looking for a relationship in approaching a woman. Approaching somebody and talk to them is being relational, right? You can't do this via online messaging or Instagram messages or text messages. None of those are relationship building skills or tools.
Right.
And so that's what I appreciate about that. And so maybe we can start with, like, why we need to bother with doing this as a cold approach. Why do we need to start with this? And when we start with this, are we working backwards from our goal? Do we want to start with, like, are we trying to get a number? Are we trying to get a date? Or are we just really trying to start with being relational?
Right. So, okay, when it comes to cold approach, which is approaching somebody in public that you don't know, it's not, nobody's introducing you. This is essentially a stranger. Even if you're sitting next to them at the bar, they're still a stranger, and that's a cold approach. Okay, the reason for doing this is pretty simple. It's way more effective than online. Online, it is very, very easy for women to swipe left. In person, if you approach a woman and speak to her, it is way harder for her to just swipe left on you. I mean, that she has to completely shut you down. And if you're coming up and you're being respectful, "May I meet you?" If you're presenting yourself well, if you're dressed well, if you're bringing, particularly if you're bringing confidence and charisma to the table, you are presenting a package that is very, very difficult to deliver in an online format. It's very hard to get that vibe quickly when somebody is just swiping left, watching their next streaming show, checking their email from work and and their dog's jumping all over them or something. When you cold approach someone in person, you're going to get way more of their undivided attention, and you're going to get way more of a shot because you have more of their undivided attention. They're also going to be able to get a real vibe. What is your presence? They're going
Yeah.
to get a sense of what is your attractiveness, not how photogenic you are, not did I
Right.
pay some photographer to take some pictures, not did I happen to be wearing the outfit or in the place that catches your eye. When you meet someone in person, you get a much more real sense of who they are very, very quickly. Cold approach gives us that. There is no sense of tempo, speed of speech. Someone does not get to hear your voice when you're on an online dating app and they're just swiping left and right. That has a huge impact. You could have, you could have the most annoying voice in the world and a sexy face, and they're going to swipe right all day long and chat with you and never know, certain elements. And same goes for arrogance. Same goes for being very self-absorbed. All of these things get picked up on very quickly in person. Or, if you have the good qualities that you're bringing to the table, those also, usually they can be spotted from across the room. The gait, the speed at which you move your body, how you plant yourself, how grounded you are. It's almost impossible to be able to display these in an online format. And when you're in person, just standing next to somebody at the line at the grocery store, all of that, if you have really developed it, just comes out naturally. That is why cold approach is effective. Well, that's the main reason. The second reason is nobody's really doing it. But I'm going to stop there for a second and let you chime in.
Yeah, no. Well, let's get into that in a second. But I also wanted to add that you talked about the vibe and the energy, but you're also discerning what her energy is like and whether or not you want to pursue this. So that's kind of why I was saying, do we work backwards from like what our goal is, or do we just approach this as being just relational, 5 seconds of something to just discern whether this is even somebody that you want to pursue further as well. Because if you're in your masculine energy and you're bringing a kind, like you said, respectful, maybe fun-loving, or interesting, whatever vibe you have. I mean, everybody's vibe is going to be different, right? And you're met with an energy that is not reciprocal to that. Like, you've got your answer right away, right? So you don't need to be pushing this if it's an interaction. Like, we all have interactions with people all day long, where some of them are like, oh man, I really liked that. Like that felt good. And some are like, oh God, I don't want to see that person again. Right. Yeah. So this is helping you to make, discerning whether or not this is a high quality person that you want to interact. And I always want to remind the dads about that, because I think the dads feel like they're at a deficit when they're doing this. You are qualifying as much as anybody else is qualifying out there as well. So let's talk about that.
Okay. So I love what you're saying. And it's totally true. If we look at it not as how other people are perceiving us, but how we are perceiving the other people and how we are filtering. So we filter when we're on dating apps. We filter by age. We filter by height, hair color, depending on the dating app you're at, you're filtering all different ways. In person. And then, even though we use those filters on dating apps, then you meet them in person. And then you find out that there was about a 90% gap in your filter for what you actually are attracted to. So we've all seen that, right? You're like, oh no, and you know it in the first 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds.
Exactly.
You're like, oh, I guess I got to sip through this coffee. Yeah.
Swing and a miss.
Exactly. In person, we filter naturally. And we do it effortlessly. It doesn't take that much work. We're just like, well, I'm not going to hit on her. And wow, I really want to hit on her. It just happens naturally. We can see the attraction. When we're online and we're trying to figure out what are we looking for, we have to work a lot harder. We have to, you got to swipe through a whole bunch, and then you have to stop and go okay, is that a body shot? Can I tell what are they hiding? What are they showing? It's hard to get, a feel for what you're really looking at. And then, like you said, her vibe, you want to make sure that, okay, you're bringing an attractive vibe, but does she have the vibe that you want? And you'll talking to her for literally 5 or 10 seconds, was it, may I meet you? If that resonates with you and the way that you want to do it, she, if that is part of your style and your vibe, and honestly, that's part of my style. I like to be a little more a little more formal, a little more dressed up, a little more, sapiosexual. If we're going to use a filter term from the dating apps,
Yeah, right.
like intelligence turns me on. I want to present that. And then does she like look at me like I'm from Mars? Or does she look at me and go, oh, okay, I like this guy because he's actually using more proper grammar? That immediately tells us whether we're compatible or not. And it is very important from a personal first-person confidence point of view to do exactly what you said. We have to qualify them to be something that we're looking for. And we have to bring the best package on our end to make sure that we have hopefully an opportunity or as many opportunities as we can for them to be interested in us.
Right. So we could just wrap this up with saying the reason it matters is it's going to save you so much more time, because as a divorced dad, you've got so much going on, and you've got, the dating app, when we've talked about this in past episodes, gives you this idea of abundance and the ability
illusion.
to the illusion, right? Yeah. The illusion of abundance. And it's not true. And by approaching women in person, you cut out all of that, like what you just described, which is you see her, she's attractive. You're not going through all these filters, these filtered photos, full body shots, no full body shots. Like, is she actually that age? Not that, like,
right, yeah.
Whatever, right?
Yeah.
You see her, it's all done immediately. It's basically, God's design for us to be attracted to somebody, right? And then you have the ability to go and then have a conversation. And so let's talk about then that. Okay. So that's why it matters, guys. Like, you're going to save yourselves just a ton of time and effort and like all this stuff and not having to deal with this. And let's talk, let's talk about it for a quick second, because a couple of things. So I've done a ton of online dating, right? You have done prolific work in online dating, online dating, and obviously you're a dating relationship coach. So let's talk about the fact that I get, okay. The last Q&A we had, one of the guys said, well, but, Dallas, where do I meet women?
Right.
And you're like, well, like when you go out of your house, don't you see women? I mean, basically, I think that was your response. And it's like, you can meet women anywhere. Because I think his question was like, well, I'm not young. I don't go to the bars anymore and I don't do this.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But your point was like, women are everywhere and you can meet women anywhere. Mm-hmm. And so let's talk about that now, and like compared to like this online dating stuff, and then moving this to the direction we should be taking. Okay, go.
Okay, I get that. That's like the top question is, where do I meet women? And the true answer is women are virtually everywhere. They are.
Yes.
What I think the question is actually asking is, where can I meet women with low to no effort? Where are women low-hanging fruit on the tree, and it's beautiful and it's ripe and it's ready to pick, and I don't have to make an effort and I can just go and collect it? That's really, I believe, what the question is. When a guy's asked, where can I meet women? It's, where is it easy for me to meet women and I don't have to make a lot of stuff? Oh, and they have to be attractive. Oh, and they have to all be interested in me no matter how I show up. That's the real question that they're asking. And and we have to be honest with ourselves as guys. If you're asking that question and you're complaining that it's so hard to meet women, guys, you're being passive. There is nothing masculine or sexy about being passive. Women are everywhere. And what we have to see is that we have to transform the barriers that are around us, and most of those barriers are actually just inside of ourselves. I can't talk to this woman here that's in the supermarket. Well, who said that exactly? Where was that rule written? Yeah, there are some social rules, but for the most part, that rule is just existing inside of you, and you can break it the moment that you grant permission for yourself to break it. So where do I meet women? Okay, there's the location, the at line at the post office, at the supermarket. Are they always going to be there? No. But here's one of the things that I actually, teach my guys to do is you want to leverage the scarcity principle. So, in online dating, there's an illusion of abundance, and we start kicking back because it's like we have this illusion of a feast in front of us, and there's tons of low-hanging fruit, and I could get any of it when I want. It's an illusion because usually you don't actually get any of it. Right. Okay, when you're in person, you don't have that illusion. You look around, walking into, wherever you're going, and you're not going to see that many options. You might not even see any options. You go out to a bar with the specific intention of meeting women, usually you won't see any options. Okay, here's the thing. You want to embrace that. You want to realize there are no good options here. There are no good options here. And you let it build up inside you. You use that scarcity to build up the energy inside of you and go, you know what? Well, I'm going to be ready when she is there. I'm going to be ready when she is there because I'm realizing she doesn't she's not there every time I go out. A woman that I want to ask out isn't always there. So that means that when she actually is in front of you, then you pull the trigger. You just got back from a hunting trip. You don't have an animal crossing your path every hour, exactly. And like you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. Mm-hmm. When that animal crosses your path, if you hesitate, you're going to lose that very small window. You need to, because it's scarce most of the time. And then suddenly you have your shot, literally your shot when you're hunting. Yeah. You want to use this scarcity to build it up and to realize, okay, yeah, there are women everywhere, but not the women I want to ask out. Or I'm looking, she's got a wedding ring on, or she's got kids with her and a wedding ring, or, whatever it is. Right. But you use that scarcity. It's kind of like building up pressure inside, but a good kind of pressure. And the pressure is my own desire to meet a woman that I find attractive. Mm-hmm. You want to leverage the scarcity so that you have the fuel, the combustion. You've got a round loaded in the chamber and you are trigger happy. So that when that beautiful deer crosses your path, you are like, I am not going to hesitate to take my shot. So
I love that. Leverage the scarcity. That's the quote for this episode. Leverage the scarcity. And I feel like that as men, a lot of us has gotten lazy because of the online dating, because of how society has started to meet people or not meet people. I see this with my daughters all the time. I'm like, why? Why are you guys communicating via Instagram? Like, why are you DMing? Like, go talk to him or have him talk to you. If he's going to talk to you, then like you said, he's going to be, I like leveraging the scarcity, right? Like he's going to be taking his shot because that's what he needs to be doing. And that indicates something much, much bigger and larger subconsciously to her than anything else that you can possibly do. Great photos, well-groomed, like whatever else. Just that you're taking your shot is huge. And so talk about that for 1 second about that. And then I want to get into specifically like some techniques around location, when to approach, not to approach, and we'll get into that.
Okay. Yeah. Great point, because the scarcity works in two directions. Mm-hmm. We as men have a scarcity of women that we want to approach. You leverage it, build it up so that when your opportunity is in front of you, you take your shot. Same goes on their end. Women, I hear it constantly. They wish men would approach them more, obviously appropriately. And obviously they want the guys that they want approaching them to approach them. And they're, they don't like that they're not. But the fact remains that most women are scarcely, I know I'm using grammar weirdly here, but they are scarcely approached. There isn't a huge abundance. They don't have 3 to 5 men per day that are good candidates walking up to them and asking them out. They don't. If they did, cold approaching wouldn't work because every guy is doing it. Right now, if you're the guy that takes his shot, you are the scarce man. You're the rare guy that has the cojones, that has the primal courage. And this is another term I use with the guys. You're being effective on a primal level. If I'm going to walk up and take my shot, it doesn't matter how I'm dressed. I could be coming from one place to another. It doesn't matter. I mean, sometimes, I'm doing a DIY project. I go into Home Depot. I haven't changed my pants. I've got drywall stuff all over my shirt. It doesn't matter. You can transcend the way you look in any one particular moment. She can tell the difference between, some knuckle dragger, who's got, nothing to offer, and some guy who's actually just doing a DIY project at home and can transcend it. She knows the difference.
Right.
Similarly, some guy that's all business and always wearing a suit, and he leans on that. He leans on his money, but but it's actually just a form of arrogance, or thinks that he should have something. Women see through that too, and they want to know who's a guy that can transcend and go, nope, I totally get real. I get, I changed the oil on my car myself or whatever. There's a primal effectiveness to masculinity of being competent in many areas of life that every woman finds attractive. No woman has ever said, gosh, I really hate how this guy can really just do lots of stuff and get it done.
Yeah, right.
No woman has ever said that. And when a guy brings that to the table, it causes her to relax. And that is a vibe that you bring to the table. So to your point, when the opportunity presents itself, and you bring the type of raw, masculine, primal energy there, it's the energy itself, not the packaging. Yes, it does matter, but the energy is what really counts. And it is very, very scarce. Women are not used to men with that kind of energy approaching them. And they're not used to being approached in person at all. And they find it really refreshing when it's done respectfully, when it's done with a bit of charm, when it's done with playfulness, and of course, when it's done with confidence. Women love it. They ask for it. They want it. And they're not getting enough of it. So when you do it, you're leveraging scarcity on your end, and you're leveraging scarcity on their end. And I've completely forgotten what your follow-up question was.
Yeah, no. So the next one is, let's talk about some do's and don'ts about that, because they do want it, but we do often. I think sometimes it may oftentimes surprise women because they're just so not used to it anymore. And so I think the first thing we said was, okay, be respectful, right? Like you gotta. The energy that you're bringing has got to be a good energy. Okay. It can't. So these do's and don'ts that I want to talk about is, how do you show up not being, not coming off creepy, not coming off. Well, number one, if you're just doing this to get a date to get laid, then you're going to come off as creepy. So just forget about everything we're going to say and turn off the podcast, because this is not what this is what we're conveying and trying to help you to do. Like, there's a million pickup artist gurus online that you can listen to for that. But we are going to talk about some specifics and when to and when not to approach. And I think one of them, when not to, is don't interrupt a woman who might be doing something. If you're at a coffee shop and she's working or on a call or something like that, don't. That's it. You might see her, you might be attracted, and you'd be like, oh, yep, there's my shot, but it's not your shot. Don't if she's busy or otherwise occupied, you're not going to get her attention enough to be able to allow her to get an emotional vibe from you, and you're not going to be able to sense an emotional vibe for her. So is that fair to say? If they're wearing headphones and maybe working out, is that at the gym? Is that a sign that they don't want to be approached?
Okay.
Because a lot of, and so this is where it's a delicate balance, because a lot of society is just occupied all of the time and distracted all the time with headphones or something. And so how do we balance that? And how do we truly know if she's occupied and we shouldn't bother her? Yeah. And what are those, what I'm calling is an open signal. So maybe you are at the coffee shop and then she's off her computer and she's maybe looking away and sipping her coffee.
Yeah, and you try to jump in, in that split second. Okay, so here's the problem with I hear what you're saying, and there is total validity to it. And okay, let's just say if a woman is on a video call, definitely do not approach her and talk to her.
For sure.
Okay,
right.
Clearly, do not interrupt that. If she's chatting with her friends and they're in the depths of it, yeah, but can you not approach it all? I wouldn't say that's necessarily true. If you're in the coffee shop, they're in the coffee shop, you've been there for 30 minutes. Is it never appropriate? I would venture to say no. You should be able to approach, but you're approaching two people. Realize that. Okay.
Yeah.
So so there's so much here. Let me come back. This episode is about cold approach. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you that your number one goal with the cold approach is to make it a warm approach.
Okay.
And the way you make it a warm approach is it's not just, I'm trying to get her number, I'm trying to get laid, I'm trying to get a date, I'm trying to get something from her. That's cold because you're targeted, you're penetrating, and you're trying to get something from her. You're trying to get in and kind of get to something and kind of get out, sort of. You've got too much of a mission. Okay, that's cold because it's precise. It's like a scalpel, you're going in with it.
Right.
Women don't respond well to that form of penetration. That is way too early and soon for them to be penetrated by you. And yes, I'm using the word penetration suggestively here.
Mm-hmm.
Women want to be warmed up first. They want to have a warm approach. They want to have one. So if she is chatting with a friend in a cafe, you want to walk up and acknowledge there are two people there. She could be talking to a man or a group of people. You want to approach and acknowledge the entire group and show that you are the sort of man that has enough self-assuredness. You are physically and emotionally certain. To call back to a previous episode, I'm approaching this group with enough physical certainty and emotional certainty for me to talk to everyone in the group and to open them all up and to make them all feel comfortable in my presence. I've just created a warm approach. And when it's one-on-one with a woman, the same way. The precursor to this, and this is going to sound so abstract, but you have to be warm inside of yourself first. Mm-hmm. You have to already be connected with the room around you and with the people. If the only stranger you ever interact with is this one woman, and you're trying to shoot like a sniper and like take it down, you're going to come off as cold. If you're used to connecting with the world, if you're used to being playful with everyone around you, that warms everyone else up and it warms you up. And you're just inviting her into your larger world. And part of that could be playfulness. Part of that could be other people that were laughing. Everybody wants to be around that kind of a man.
Yeah.
And really, when you're in that situation, it becomes natural because it's no longer a cold approach. You've created warmth. It's a warm approach.
Right. I just wanted to highlight what you just said with that. So we're calling these cold approaches because we don't know the person, like it's cold. Mm-hmm. But I like what you just said from a visual standpoint is you're attempting to make this a warm, genuine interaction. So making it from cold to warm, I think is a great way to think about it in your mind. And and that can be your only goal. That should be really your only goal.
Yes.
Is just to have a warm interaction with another human being.
Well said. Well said. And along with that, let me grab the thought again. Oh, dang it. I had it while we were talking. Give me just a second.
Sorry, I interrupted you on that, but
no, you're fine.
It'll come back to you, and when it comes back, we'll come back. So that's it. So if you are looking for an opportunity, looking for whatever that open signal is, and you're going to be kind, you're going to be. Did you remember what it is?
I remembered. Yeah.
Okay.
And it builds directly on this warmth. Is you want to treat the person and assume familiarity. So when I meet somebody new, and I don't know them, they don't know me, there's a certain formality. And when we get to know each other, let's say we meet again a second time and we're having coffee, there's a certain part where we naturally relax and we start to treat each other with more familiarity. And then time goes by and we become more and more relaxed and comfortable and more familiar with each other. Well, we're both really in any human interaction, we're both just waiting for everyone to sort of say it's okay to do that. Any person at any time can just totally bypass that by assuming familiarity and treating the person that way. So, for example, let's say in line at, I don't know, like at the supermarket, and they're getting something, I don't know what, it was like, and they have like, I don't know, 3 watermelons in their shopping cart or something. And it was like, are you really going to do that to your pancreas? Like it's like one of the sugary, whatever. I mean, that's a super dumb example, but if the first words out of my mouth to her are something that I would say to a friend, like, are you really sure that's a good life choice there? And you're laughing about it. I have just fast forwarded through about 4 dates for us to get to a place of familiarity, because I'm assuming familiarity. That assuming of the familiarity is just, I mean, I'm not like, I'm doing it appropriate for the context, but I'm also showing her I have no problem being myself around you. I don't have to be on my best behavior. I'm going to fast forward and let you see the fun side of me. I'm assuming familiarity. And for the most part, people are more than happy to accept that from the other person. If it's funny, if it's welcome, if it's enjoyable, most people like it that the other person is going to be that familiar with them. We like receiving this. Be the man that gifts this. It's like, oh, really? Yeah. So that's what you do on a Sunday afternoon, huh? Yeah. You just cruise through, movie theaters, watching 3 per day. Okay. Gotcha. You do something, something like that. We call it, it's teasing, in the pickup artist world. It could, well, I don't know, it might be called negging, possibly, in the pickup artist world. Yeah.
Let's not get into negging.
But negging is a little more strategic. It's meant to put them down in comparison to other people. Right. But I'm going to call it assuming familiarity, because I like that. Because we're just fast forwarding to where we would get to eventually. And to your point, this lets us filter real fast whether or not this woman is compatible with us. And we're just doing it by showing who we are sooner and faster. And it warms up the entire interaction.
Well, and as usual, Dallas, you make it sound so incredibly easy because you are so incredibly good at it. But the rest of us in normal guys have more challenges and struggles. So let's talk about some of the nonverbal ways that we can get ourselves ready, like how to carry ourselves, how to stand, like a smile, and maybe body language and being open. And I can already see you in line, watermelons, and making it funny, right? Like, and then you've got the date, and then you guys are already like, you guys are familiar by like 10 minutes into your first date because you're good. All right. But me, I'm there and I'm like saying something stupid and awkward about the watermelons.
About her melons.
About her watermelons, right? Like, and then, so yours was funny and mine was, she's eyeing security at the front door.
Exactly.
So help us with some of those nonverbal ways to do this.
Okay. So, all right. So there are endless details and there are endless behaviors. The details draw a picture. The behaviors are tactics. There's endless amounts of those, but there's really only a few states that we can get into where the details of what we look at and what we're doing with our body and our behavior naturally emanate out from. And that's the real trick. A lot of guys are trying to rehearse, okay, so I have to put my arm out there on the back of up over, the booth, the back of the booth to show that I'm open and I'm masculine and I need to have eye contact for this amount of time and I have to smile this amount. And, we dissect it and we're doing all of it. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. And you do want to make observations, about that and then constantly be improving it. But these are details, guys. These are the small details. And as long as you're focused on the details, you're just writing, rehearsing, and performing a script. Writing, rehearsing, and performing scripts will never be a genuine performance. It will never be genuine warm approach. It will never be genuine connection. It will never be genuine laughter on her end. So the question is, how do you make it an authentic performance? You need to get into the state. I think the easiest state for pretty much every person on planet Earth to imagine is, I just won the lottery. So imagine that morning you bought a lottery ticket and then at 1 p.m. they announced it and you won the flippin' lottery. You won a $350 million jackpot. Okay. And
Okay.
now it's 6 o'clock and you're having the happiest happy hour of your whole damn life. Like right now, this is about as high as it ever gets. Okay, you're scared that lottery ticket is like something's going to happen to it. But other than that, you are absolutely cloud 11. I mean, like you are, you're soaring because you won. You're a winner inside. You can, it's the Harry Potter potion, where it's like the good luck thing, he drinks it and he can do no wrong and it all happens. That's the state that you're in. Okay. Even imagining that happened to me created that state in my body. This is the interesting thing, is that the mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality a lot of the time.
Right.
I can, and this is nothing new. I mean, I'm a Tony Robbins fan myself. Tony Robbins has been doing it for decades. Lots of other people do it. You can, through imagery, take all the words you want to do it, but basically imagine and feel what it would be like to be in that state. And now imagine you're behind that woman in line at the grocery store. And you're just like laughing. Your smile is so big. You're open, you're breathing, you're sighing relief. I mean, decades of financial stress has just stripping away from your body. All the opportunities of the future that were constricted. How can I ever finally go to, I don't know, Rome, because I'd never been there. And suddenly, I mean, the world is your oyster and everything has opened up. You didn't actually do any of the things. Nothing has actually changed physically in that day, but you are living an entirely open life. You are living the physical embodiment of a winner. Confident men are winners. That's the heart. That's the feeling. That's the openness. That is the confidence. So if you're asking yourself, how do I behave? What do I do with my body? What do I do with my words? Well, ask yourself, how does a winner behave? But even more important than how does a winner behave, because that's mimicking, again, that's scripts, that's rehearsing and performing. Ask yourself, how can I put myself into the state of a winner?
Right.
Winners
all of the time.
All the time. Exactly.
Yeah.
And guys, just so you understand, we're not saying that anybody is registering like they feeling like a winner all the time. That's not it. You're going to go up and down. You're going to have highs. You're going to have lows. But realize that what we are striving for in ourselves is to open ourselves, because that's what confidence is. Confidence is, I have nothing to worry about now. I'm not worried if this woman says no to me. I'm not worried, if I don't know, I come out and my car's caught on fire. I'm not worried, what my boss says anymore. I am free of all of these worries. I'm open. That's what confidence is. And I really think the state of having just won the lottery is the easiest, most simple, concrete way for us to imagine it and then begin to embody it in a practical day-to-day way.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I know one of the first things that came to my mind, and I know the guys are like, okay, but yeah, that's great, Dallas. But, I actually just woke up and I had to deal with trying to get teens out of the house on time, and my boss is up my ass, and I've got all these bills, and my ex is driving me freaking crazy. Yep. And then all of a sudden I'm going to see her in I didn't win the freaking lottery this morning. I'm maybe irritated and pissed off or distracted or whatnot. Yep. And I'll just say, if that's the case, guys, just don't engage.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't have to engage, and maybe you miss your shot, because sometimes we do miss our shots, and sometimes we shouldn't be taking the shots because it's not the right time. So that's okay. You're not going to be spot on all the time. Like,
nobody,
man, like you're just not. And that's okay. But I think your point, I think a good general point, period, is get yourself in mental, emotional state as much of the time, every single day, to where you're not, because this will translate to more than just meeting women and approaching women. This is going to translate to other areas of your life, other relationships, work, children, etc. So, and I talk about this in the Divorced Advocate podcast, and when we're doing work with the dads and getting their emotions intact and in line and stuff like that. So this goes in alignment with that. So it's just getting yourself to be generally like that, so that any time of day, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, then you have the confidence to be able to have a simple, warm interaction with somebody. And I think I'm going to keep coming back to that, is having a warm interaction with somebody, anybody.
A warm approach. Yeah. This isn't cold approach. This is warm approach. And let me bring this back to the question that you brought up earlier from our last Q&A with your audience, men. The guys were asking, where do I meet women? The guys were not asking, how do I show up as effectively as possible so that any woman I meet wants me to get her number? Okay. We are talking about what that question is focused on, and what we are focused on right now is two completely different things.
Yeah.
When you focus on showing up in the right state, it's like, well, where do women meet me? Becomes the issue at hand. Because when you walk around with that kind of openness, groundedness, and you practice it with your kids. I mean, okay, so obviously it is so much easier for me to say, because I don't have the stress of an ex-wife, and I don't have the stress of having to co-parent, and I don't have children that I have to take care of. In those senses, my life is a lot less stressful. I completely own that and agree with it. And I can tell you that if I had children, my priority of being open and confident and modeling it, especially if I had daughters, would be even more important than it is to me right now. Because if I had daughters, I would want my daughters to look at the other boys around them and go, no, you're nothing like my dad. Like, come back when you've worked on your shit a little more. Like, I mean, you're just, you're asking me to have sex with you, but you don't even, you have no groundedness. You have no self-assuredness. If I had daughters, I would want my daughters to see me modeling a grounded, non-reactive, open kind of energy that is confident, because I want them to be attracted to that for their partner in the future. And if I had sons, obviously, I want them to be little Mac daddies when they go out there into the world, not just with women, but with everything in life. I want them to go, well, yeah, no, it's easy. You open up and you're like a winner, and you feel good and you're grounded, and, and you just, the priority of modeling that for my children, honestly, I would say would be an even bigger motivator than me trying to own it for myself and my own interactions in the world. Would you agree with that as a dad? What's your take?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I think as divorced dads, oftentimes this is a whole learning thing for us, dating after divorce, which is the reason why you and I started this podcast. And I think it's incredibly important. A ton of this stuff was never taught to us. A ton of this stuff we just learned as we went, as young men, or learned from whatever male role models, good or bad, that we had growing up. And it's a whole different ball game now, and it's a whole different environment now. So it's literally just starting over. But I think it's important, like you said, the dads, and I know that all the dads listening to this podcast and the Divorced Advocate podcast really want to have good, warm interactions, a healthy romantic relationship, et cetera. So I think that they take it to heart, and knowing that there are significant implications like modeling for your children. I know that's been a big one for me, is that I take that very, very seriously, that they learn more from watching than anything else that I can tell them at all. So
let me ask a question about that. So when you're modeling for your daughters, a single man that just swipes on apps and then eventually schedules a date with a woman, versus a man that met a woman while he was out getting groceries and came back and he's got a smile on his face. Which one do you think your daughters would be happier about?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And that's something I've not even thought about for myself. And even actually talking and having some warm interactions with women while they're around. Like, I think that is actually would be a positive for them to see and to know also. And I think that's something, as I always tell you, Dallas, I leave our episodes going, oh my God, I can do this, and let's think about this, and I'm going to go do that. It's like, so I think this is one of my big ones now, is like, I've never thought about doing that while in the presence of my daughters or having my daughters around, but I think that would actually be a positive thing for them to see in action.
And it would make your approach, if you have your daughters in your mind and in your heart, when you're approaching a woman, it makes you even warmer inside.
Yeah.
Bringing the full package of your life with you, it makes your approach to that woman even warmer, because you're not hiding, you're not dividing, you're not compartmentalizing one part of your life over here in an app, and your daughters are over here, and your ex-wife is over there, and your guy friends over here. You're being much more welcoming and bringing in. That's what warms it up. And tell me again, I mean, do you feel that when you have your daughters in your heart, when you're approaching a woman that you find attractive, I mean, I would imagine that gives you even more confidence.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're for all the dads that I've ever talked to, and for myself, the kids are the driving factor in your life. So if you have that, I might even say, you talked about winning the lottery, like, have the mindset of the lottery being your kids are your winning of the lottery. And if you have that in your heart, when you're having a warm conversation with somebody, it's gonna warm even more. I mean, it's gonna bring a different feel and energy to the conversation. So if you can put that in the back of your mind, even if they are teenagers and they just made you crazy that day or morning, or talking back, or giving flack or whatever, you still do bring that loving feeling. So I like that a lot.
Cool. Awesome. I'm glad that my imagination is rooted in reality. I'm glad.
Yeah.
So I want to talk just for a minute about the stress. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because you talked about, I wake up in the morning, my boss is crawling up my ass, my teenage daughters are driving me crazy. My ex is doing this, and I've got that. And you feel like your life isn't even your own. Yes, we have a lot of responsibilities. The fact that we have responsibilities can be positive or negative, depending entirely on our perception of them. And I get it. The stress level is high. But what defines our experience is how we react emotionally or respond behaviorally to that stimulus. And what we choose to do going forward. So if your boss is up your ass and he's just that kind of boss, are you just staying there, or are you working towards a different job? I mean, because the minute you realize I'm in the wrong job and I'm working towards something else, you now have an outlet, and you're no longer reactive. You're being proactive towards what you want. I'm not sure we can do much about the teenagers being teenagers, other than the fact that we have to take a step back and laugh and go like,
Same thing.
This is what we go through. Like, well, when humans are ages 13 to 18, this is what they do. They go through this weird phase, and we have to laugh at just the absurdity of the human condition. We have to take the step back and just kind of let it go. Because if we're getting frustrated, it's because we're trying to control. It's because we're not allowing them to do it. Now, obviously, if they're doing some pretty hardcore stuff, like but that's not frustration. That's genuine concern, talking to therapists.
Right.
Like, that's different. When it comes to, your ex-wife and whatever, yes, we have to deal with them. But this is where, again, the work with you and what you do with the divorced advocate is, I'm sure steps 1, 2, and 3 are how to set a healthy boundary. Define yourself and set healthy boundaries. Define yourself and set healthy boundaries. Set healthy boundaries. And the reason for that is, when we have really, really strong self-definition, we're no longer reactive. Yeah. Most of that stress that we're feeling is because we're being reactive to it. It's how we're perceiving it. I'm not saying it's not exhausting, but but we have to look at ourselves and make sure that we are not just going, throwing our hands up in the air, saying like, well, my life's just kind of crap. It's like, dude, your life, man, start to inch your way out, start to get some pulleys and levers, and start moving yourself into a position where your life doesn't feel stressful, financially, emotionally, relationally, on all the levels. Because here's the thing. Once we turn 18, the buck stops with you, because you're an adult. And if you are not taking responsibility and changing yourself and putting yourself into a position where you can feel like a winner, that's your fault because you're the adult in the room.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And this is always preface on the fact that we've taken the time to really work through and sort through our stuff, get our values and our understanding of our belief systems and whatnot in line and intact and being able to show up how we're supposed to be showing up. Because, fellas, if you're still struggling with that at this point, and you're listening to us, it's just still not time yet. Like, go do the work, therapy, coaching, whatever you need. There's going to be an opportunity for you to have another romantic relationship, but it is really incumbent, like Dallas said, and being able to show up. Because if you can't show up, or you're showing up how you used to show up, look, if the definition of sanity is doing the same thing over and over and hoping for a different outcome, like, you're not going to get a different outcome. So stop and do the work. And I guess we haven't said that in a few episodes, but you've got to do that before, because we can talk about, and I think Dallas does a great job, and I really appreciate that. I kind of structure stuff to say, well, let's talk about like practical applications, but really what it comes down to, guys, is you can take all these steps. We can talk about how to approach, when to approach, being open, like what to say, what words, what openers, are there bad ones, are there good ones, etc. It mostly and entirely comes down to what kind of energy you are bringing to the interaction. And Dallas always does a terrific job of not only stating that, but also explaining why that's beneficial, how it's impacting the woman, and how it's helping you in your masculinity, which I really appreciate about your approach, Dallas, which makes you so good at what you do, because you can teach. And so on that note, guys, I will say, so you hear Dallas every week, and I got to say, guys, when you listen, Dallas, when we do these, we don't script any of these podcast episodes. This is Dallas giving his expertise every single week to you off the cuff, just like he would be doing with you in one-on-one coaching. So if you want to take this to the next level, so you've done maybe some of the work, guys, you've been part of a divorced advocate community, you're ready to do some dating, and you really want to have some success. And I can say this as a guy that's been dating for a decade and has had, some success, not great success, et cetera. Man, if you want to take it to the next level and you want now to really dive into this, get involved with Dallas and his community, because this is going to take your skill level to the next point, and that's going to help you have more success. So you hear us talk about this stuff, and we can't get in, like, we've already been through an hour, and like, I still got a bunch of stuff I want us to talk about, but I don't know that we're going to get into it. But I just want to emphasize that all the time. There's nothing like getting more involved. And, so I just wanted to say that, because I do appreciate how you are able to bring it to the core of that every single time. So, but I'm going to come back and then say, so we have a warm interaction, right? Maybe a little brief conversation. Mm-hmm. Is it okay to say, hey, I'd like to continue this conversation. Can I have your number? Or I've got an idea of how we could continue this conversation. Yeah. Would you be interested in that or something? Is that okay? Over watermelons in the grocery cart?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because women have this statement of they want it to just happen naturally. Okay. Right. Naturally. We've all heard it. And we're like, what do you mean naturally? I have to make something happen. It's over watermelons in a shopping cart that just happened naturally. No. I actually did that intentionally. Absolutely. If you don't, you didn't take your shot. You leveraged all this scarcity, and then that beautiful doe, I know we're supposed to shoot the bucks, but still, this beautiful deer crosses your path. Take your shot. If you don't ask, you didn't take your shot. You walked away with no means of following up or asking this woman out later. You absolutely none at all. Swing all the way through, gentlemen. Swing. Don't Don't pull your punches. Don't choke up, when you're swinging. I know I'm mixing metaphors here, but like, guys, clean, full swing all the way through, knock the ball out of the damn park. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's like, so you're talking about the balance. Oh, it's like, hey, it's like, you seem really fun. It's like, would you like to get together? Would you like to have coffee this weekend? What are you up to on Saturday? No big deal. And you ask her that, and I find it's more effective to be concrete about that and then say, well, let me get your number. I mean, I could just say, hey, can I get your number? Like, you seem really cute, but I kind of almost put in more playfulness to it. And I have to feel like there's more kind of playfulness there when I'm inviting someone to something concrete. If I ask her for her number and she's like, well, why do you want it? I mean, yeah, of course, like the reason's obvious, but it's sort of like it's abstract, asking for digits to a device. Where if I say, hey, would you like to grab a drink on Friday? That's concrete. That's an invitation to something specific. It's a concrete invitation. If I just say, can I get your number? It's just assume there will be an invitation later. It might sound like semantics, but invitations that are concrete, they make her feel safe and reassured. That is like number one key element here of a warm interaction, is to make her feel safe and reassured. Tell her what your intentions are. Because for all she knows, you're going to turn around and send her a dick pic, when you get home. Because most dudes do on dating apps at a certain point. Like, I think it's the majority of them. But at least talking with women, that's what it sounds like. They're all vulgar. She wants to know, what are you inviting her to? And then getting the number becomes just a matter of hashing out the details.
That's a great point.
But it's absolutely natural for you to extend an invitation. It's absolutely effective. And again, I'm not hiding my intentions. If I had this whole interaction, and then I just leave it, that's fine. And you should do that a lot of the time, just to practice having warm approaches with everybody. You want to practice that. However, when you're attracted to the woman, swing all the way through, follow through on your stroke. And, you're going to get the butterflies. You're going to get a little bit of anxiety. It's just energy. It's just excitement. It's just the fact that you've been waiting. And now it happened to happen. That woman that you crossed 3 times in the supermarket in different aisles, and you're like, God, I wish it was her. She's the one at the end of the line, and you get to walk up behind her and you're like, hallelujah, finally on my side. The odds happen, helped me. It's only your fault if you don't swing through, man. It's only on you if you think that now she is going to start that interaction, that she's going to ask you out. Guys, that's passive. There's no way in the world that is going to take you where you want to go most of the time. It is 100% yours to, we talked about escalation in the episode about, sex and intimacy. Escalation is expected. It's and somebody has to do it. And it's sexy when the man does it, when the man takes another step forward. And when I'm showing what my intentions are, hey, I'd like to see you again. She might reject me, she might not. But the fact that I'm being vulnerable like that, that's hot. That means that I'm not afraid of what's going to happen. So again, in case you haven't heard the word yes enough, yes, absolutely. But it's not just ask her for her number. It's show her your true intentions in speaking with her, assuming that she is someone that you want to ask out after you've chatted for a few minutes. But yes, absolutely follow through. Otherwise, you're cheating everybody. You, everybody gets cheated. We didn't have the opportunity 95% of the time, and then she's there. If you don't take your shot, nothing can happen. Absolutely take your shot.
Well, and so I want to clarify. So you're, again, like we talked about in the beginning, you're not working backwards from a goal. So you've had a warm interaction. So if you can think about this as like on a timeline, right? Like you're having a warm interaction, but you want to continue this warm interaction. So you're not looking to get a date. You're not looking to get a number. Like this isn't something that you're working to get towards. You're working to continue this warm interaction. So like what you're saying is, if then you're inviting to continue this warm interaction, that creates a whole different vibe with her and energy with her by stating something like, hey, I've enjoyed this conversation, or hey, maybe you can give me more tips around, selecting watermelons. would
Right.
you like to have coffee, this Saturday?
Yeah. I'll never see melons the same way again. Yeah, after meeting
Yeah,
you.
me either. I'm going to actually go to the grocery store after this and put some watermelon.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you're primed and ready. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. You said if you have a goal in mind of what you're trying to get, realize that's selfish. Realize that is, I'm trying to get something for me. I'm trying to consume, not the proper orientation. And she will feel that. Right. No woman wants to be taken from. They don't want a guy that's trying to get something from her. What you want to follow through with, you're saying continue the connection. That's 100% there. And the method, the vehicle, the tool for it is an invitation. You have to invite her to something. Even if it's like, I would love to ask you out next week, but my schedule's crazy and I don't know what's going on. Can I get your number? And, and when I know when I'm free, I can invite you out for a drink. I mean, even if it's just a placeholder, you're still extending an invitation. Yeah. The invitation is the invitation to continue connecting, really. That's what it is. But that's also something that you're offering rather than trying to get from her. It's something you're giving to her. And that change, as a 180 difference, those are two totally opposite directions. And they will land on the woman very, very differently. And your response from the woman will be completely different.
Yeah. And so if you go into this just with the intention of having a warm interaction, no matter what happens, because look, a lot of times it's going to be circumstantial. Sorry, I'm married, or sorry, I'm dating, or I'm not interested. Okay, that's fine, but you've still had a warm interaction, right? Mm-hmm. You've let that person feeling better than they were before they met you, right? Yeah. So that should be the goal and the intention of the entire interaction. Yeah. And look, the vibe might not happen. She might not be the vibe that you're looking for all the time, and you're going to know that too. So that's where you just even if it's not, then it's a warm interaction. You leave that person feeling good. You felt good that you had a good warm interaction with that person, and you didn't pull the trigger because it wasn't the one that you wanted. So that's okay too.
Let me add one more piece though that I think is also the goal, and that you're guaranteed to come away with successfully, and that is you're redefining yourself as a man who makes warm approaches. Because if you're wondering and you're not sure and you feel awkward about it, if you feel torn, you'd like to, but you don't quite know how, your identity as a man is, well, sometimes I approach if it's easy. But if you change that to, I'm the kind of man that when I see my shot, I take it because I want to. Okay. Every time I invite someone to have a connection, I have an interaction, I am rewiring myself. I am redefining myself. I am setting my identity as a man that takes his shot when it comes across my path. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is part of who I am. And I'm making that clear and true inside of myself. That is a guaranteed result if you continue to do this. And as you continue to do that, and that becomes your identity, it becomes more natural and easy.
Okay, that's a perfect segue to what I want to give as a homework challenge for the dads that are listening this week.
Let's hear it.
And that's what I'm calling 1 compliment, 0 expectations. And what this is going to be is I want you to approach man, woman, whomever this week and just give them a compliment. And that's it. So it's not about doing anything. It's not about a romantic, not a romantic opportunity or anything. It's just being open, being vulnerable, approaching strangers and people and giving a compliment and creating some sort of warm interaction with somebody that's going to help you to, like what Dallas just said, be the dad who is the dad that is able to have warm interactions with everybody he comes in contact with you. And then what that's going to do eventually, gentlemen, is going to allow you to do that all the time with everybody, but it's going to open up way more opportunities for those potential romantic relationships and interactions. What do you think of that?
I think it's great. Giving a compliment is always good. It's really good if when you give them the compliment, such as nice boots, that you're dressed and presented well enough that they can return the compliment to you if they'd like to. It's that the rule of reciprocity in human socialization is really, really, really strong. It's not always going to happen in that scenario, but it more than once it has happened to me that I genuinely like a jacket that a woman's wearing. And,
Yeah.
and I'll do that and she'll compliment my watch or the jacket that I'm wearing or something. And and people like to be complimented by people that they like what they're this is a well-dressed man and he's complimenting me on what I'm wearing. If you're a guy showing up in tattered sneakers and, a loose t-shirt and you're like, oh, nice dress. And she looks beautiful. She's like, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
You're not, it's like, I'm sure you do think this is attractive, but if you're showing up looking sharp and you give her a compliment, that compliment's going to mean more to her and it's going to open up the interaction. You might be surprised actually how quickly that can open things up. I think that's an awesome assignment. Nice and simple, direct to the point, very executable.
Yeah. Awesome. So Dallas, we're out of time, my friend, but that was terrific. Yeah, we bust through these weeks every single week, and I say it every single week, but some great stuff. Remind the guys listening, the dads listening, how they can get in contact with you and get involved with the Black Box dating community.
Yeah. First of all, if you guys haven't liked and subscribed to this podcast, please do that right now. We're growing the audience and love that you're listening, but we want to be sure that you're continue listening and share it with other guys that you feel this content could help. Yeah, if you are interested in upping your dating game, jump on over to blackboxdating.com. Check out the men's coaching program. There is a group coaching program that we start out. We do live office hours with me online every week. There's a higher tier at the end of the month where you can join us in the field and we can do live interactions and work together, get some of that state work that we were talking about going. And the highest tier involves one-on-one work if you're interested in that. Jude,
awesome.
How can the guys learn more about your services?
Yeah, so I wanted to touch on what you said about the listenership. We're up like 25% over the last month, which is really terrific. So you guys, please continue to share, give us comments. That helps immensely, and we're just going to continue to grow this. On that note, you're probably listening to this. I think we just had our last Divorce Dads Q&A, dating or Ask a Dating Coach Q&A. But check out the divorceadvocate.com website and under events. This is a free engagement. It's a Q&A with Dallas that he's been kind enough to share his time with us once a month, and you can get online and you can come and ask Dallas some specific questions. We've done a couple of them now. They've been really, really tremendous, but check that out at thedivorceadvocate.com. And then there's all the other resources that you can find there as well for you wherever you're at in your divorce. And then I'm also going to tease, Dallas, we're going to be putting together some live stuff coming up here in the new year. So just know that Dallas and I are working on some of those things. So if you've got ideas or you've got thoughts or anything that you want us to address, just send us a message via your podcast platform or at dadsdatingafterdivorce@gmail.com. I don't use that email address that often, so it's hard to remember. Yeah. Dallas, always a pleasure, my friend. We'll see you next week.
Been a blast, Jude. Talk to you next week. Bye.
Be the hero of your own movie. If your life was a movie and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie